Cool.
So, guys, as you always, we're just like waiting for a second just for YouTube just to confirm this, and then we're going to start in a second. Um, just waiting for YouTube for a second. Awesome. I think I got this right. Let me just make sure that it's muted. Yeah, it's all working well. Cool. Awesome. So welcome everyone to episode 39. So we're almost like 40 there. I mean, yeah, almost 40 on my age as well. Like not this year, in a couple of years or so. But
I'm 50 this year, Junior, so wow.
yay.
Woohoo!
Good. So we had a kind of a long chat today in the morning before we jumped in. I think we had a little break in between. I don't know if Amanda wants to share a little. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really happy to share. Yeah, I
Yeah.
wasn't feeling well yesterday, and bless it, just love, whenever Junior and I come together, it's just a beautiful energy where we're able to just be so honest and authentic. And I know I was ill yesterday, and there's a combination of things going on. I think my body was purging. My body does that regularly. It like has a deep cleanse. So this is more information anybody needs to know. But basically, if it could be purged from somewhere within me, it got out. And it was kind of what happened during that yesterday. And it was quite beautiful, really. The process of me being able to be with myself, be with my body as it was releasing lots of things, and what occurred in that. And we were sort of saying about the conversation today is, I know Gina does that beautiful introduction, but for me yesterday it was that wonderful thing of, yeah, the depth here is me. I can forgive myself for being ill, like this thing of, well, you've got all this knowledge, and what, you still allowed your body to be ill. And it was me being able to be with that very human me that's forgotten it's so much more than being a body. And yeah, do you know what? I'm sorry. I forgot that I am so much more than this limited, finite human me and body that I sort of sometimes forget. I am so much more than that. And it was a really beautiful process of me sort of handing that over and saying, I'm not doing anything wrong by being ill. It's that something beautiful is happening here. There's a releasing. And I was able to be able to sort of go really deep. It was that point of remembering of, I was lit for a small time, my mind was trying to work out why I was being ill. And it like Gina was saying, there's a big pie chart and it hasn't got all the answers. Like a child, it hasn't got all the answers. So it was that reminder, yeah, I need to go deeper with this. And I connected with that beautiful, peaceful, loving space within me where there's so much more intelligence, understanding. And I handed myself and my body over to that. And within that process, there was a really beautiful, deep realization of, God, there's a part of me that feels guilty because I'm ill. There's a part of me that, God, God, that's really bad. I forgot the infinite, loving, divine being that I am. And, God, I remember sitting there thinking, God, Jesus wouldn't get ill, would he? And it was like, what? And it was beautiful because it was like this little child like me. I was able to sort of bring it back down to my heart, and all the things we talk about, the self-parenting, the divine mother came in, all sorts of consciousness. And I'm very conscious, I'll say, all beings that are to do directly from God, that's in light and love. So I have a trust then that whatever comes in, it's for the highest good. And there was just this really deeper understanding and connection of, we are a collective consciousness, and whenever human beings forget the vastness that we are, the divinity that we are, we do get stuck in that finite, lacking, we're just physical, I just need to survive. If my body doesn't survive, then I die, because the ego is very connected with just being physical. And a lot went on yesterday, with too much to go into, and people have lives. I appreciate that. And June, we've all got stuff to do, but it was such a beautiful journey of that deeper remembering of, yeah, I need to go deeper with that. And there was just a beautiful releasing of me and some dreams that I had. And I wake up in the morning and it was like, wow, my mind very quickly was trying to work the dream out. No, remember, breathed, went into that peaceful, loving space, felt that connection, felt the divine energy come in. My higher self, my spiritual self was there. And it was in that there was a surrendering of, my mind doesn't know what that dream was about, but I know there's something there to be healed. And it was quite quick, but we did that thing of, it's okay, body, we're safe, it's all right, we're calm. Parasympathetic nervous system came in. I connected to that peaceful living space. Then I could access this little human me that was trying to work out what had gone wrong and certain imprints, and then I handed it over, and there was that beautiful realization I've got that little part of me was like a child that was holding on to, I didn't save you, or whoever that other person was. And it was beautiful when you could see that that's okay. And I could say, sorry, I'm so sorry I couldn't bring that other person into the light and keep them there. I'm so sorry I couldn't do that. And I'm sorry I forgot the divine light that I was, that has kept me holding on to this guilt and shame that I couldn't. There was a part of me that thought that was my job. And then that other person's energy came in, and it was a sort of releasing of, that's what free will is, isn't it? And I'm so thankful for the experience that we had. And a lot went on, but it was quite a beautiful, and a lot then got released from my energy field of attachments and all the things we talk about. And what then came in was just such a beautiful freedom, lightness, joy came back in. I saw that person's light even more. Such love came in my heart. And I understood a little bit more than I had before. That deeper knowledge came in and shared a little bit more about that person's journey and what had happened. A more understanding of my part in that. But a big release was me handing it over. My little mind didn't understand it all. It couldn't. That's okay. I almost forgave the humanity part of it and what had gone on. And I asked for forgiveness of that. And I said, may we all be forgiven for when we forget the divine light that we are, the infinite being that we are, the loving, the peacefulness that we are. And, my purpose is to bring more of that sort of light and awareness into my humanity. It's not to get rid of our humanity, but it's to bring more of that light, peace, love up into our humanity as well. It's almost like a lot got emptied out, and then what got filled back up again, what started to be integrated and embodied, was that deep understanding of what, okay, and they showed me what was being purged yesterday, and I go, oh yeah, I get that. And also there was an understanding of who I am, and actually what is really important to me, what is my integrity about, what in your life matches your integrity and what's important to you, and what isn't at the minute. And I had to almost forgive myself for seeing that, God, there was maybe some things that perhaps weren't as aligned with what I thought was my truth. It's still really good things were happening, there's good intentions, but there was a part of me that said, you've got slightly out of alignment. And that's why there's certain external things that they have a label of goodness, but actually, is it? And is the energy that's happening around it, is it in that place that your heart knows you want it to be? And that's where bravery and courage comes in, because we say, no, actually, my intention never changed. My purpose for being there is pure. But actually, it's really important to me that the energy I share that intention and action with, it is with people that are aligned in that as well. And we're not saying they need to be perfect. This is where we forgive ourselves, because I think I was sharing with Junior where somebody said to me, God, you shared live about having an attachment to your car. And I went, what will people think? And I said, well, but that's why Junior and I are here, because we want to share as honestly and with as much awareness as we can when conditioning comes up or attachment comes up. And, we were saying before, weren't we, that we don't want to be talking the talk and having all this knowledge. We're coming out of that spiritual ego. And I've been there where you talk the talk and it sounds really great, but actually what we're wanting to share is our authenticity of, are we implementing it? Are we embodying that? Are we integrating that deeper knowledge? And are we doing that work? And that's what we're wanting to share here, what works for us and how we do that. And that's our passion, isn't it?
Yeah, and I feel again, thank you so much. Thank you, Amanda, like for sharing, so openly again, even, being, sick yesterday, and also about the attachment about the car. And I feel through our examples as well, not saying we are the example or something, but through the idea of like being able to share that it's okay to not feel okay. You know what I mean? It's okay to get sick. It's okay to, have an attachment to a physical thing. It's okay. It's just how can we come back to who we really are, that we always talk about in the Alchemy chat, and is inviting you as well to have a look into everything that you preaching, for example, for what you've learned. Do you see from, I don't know, from a religion perspective, from a spiritual perspective, from even from a knowledge perspective of what you've learned in terms of the profession that you do, and so on. It's like, am I allowing myself to fail here? Am I allowing myself to actually, fall down like a kid? And we use that analogy as well, where it's like when you're learning how to walk as a kid, we don't go like, oh, you fell down, that's such a bad thing. Do you see what I mean? Let's get up. How do we get you up again? How do we get you one step at a time? And I feel the alchemy chat is so much about this. Do you see? Allowing you to alchemize, to transform things as they come along, and not having to protect so much the I look good in that sense. Do you see what I mean? I'm perfect. I'm the master, for example, or like beautifully Amanda put just before we join in, we feel that mastery is actually the ones which are walking the talk, and not just, talking and then telling people what to do and so on. And I feel it's not even like for us to tell ourselves as masteries, but like just for you to actually, how do you implement the stuff that you're saying? And I know, and I've been there as well so many times where I start kind of,
So
teaching first, about the stuff that I'm learning, and I'm excited about a new book that I start to reading, and so on. And you start telling, oh, you should do this and you should do that. The book says this. Do you see what I mean? And here's a beautiful quote. Do you see what I mean? And until you are, whoa, I'm telling this to all these people around me, and it's a big mirror. Do you see what I mean?
yeah.
What are you doing for that? Do you see?
I love that. And isn't it beautiful that we can be so gentle? It's almost that human, it's very childlike, it's childish.
Yeah.
Childlike is that innocence of joy. Childish is when, that child in the playground, I'm getting upset because you took my toy, sort of thing. But I think it's joyful when we can lovingly, gently laugh, when we can say, yeah, I recognize the spiritual ego, and I think it is part of our journey, and where we can say, yeah, this sounds great. And I know my part of the journey was, being with people, God, they know this thing, and it's great, and they open my mind, but then that confusion of when they're not teaching it or on stage, or I got to know quite a few people as people or helpers, and that confusion of, well, wow, you had a real tantrum because somebody during your live teaching session, whatever it was, just very gently questioned what you'd said because they were just a bit confused. And I remember someone having a real tantrum, and they stormed out. And I was I genuinely didn't know what was happening. So I thought, well, hang on, the woman that you were saying about infinite beings, it's remembering that, and it's love, and it was all beautiful, and everyone in the room was like, God, we're loving this knowledge, and it's opening our minds and our hearts. And then one person very gently said, gosh, that's very different to what I was taught as a child. And this person just had an absolute tantrum, stormed out. I had to go and find them. They said, right, ask them all to leave, give them their money back. I will not be questioned. And I was sort of really confused. I remember sitting there thinking, gosh, like I don't understand. And they said, right, you're really nice. You go make them feel better about what they've done. And I was just like, gosh, I was so confused. And it's not about naming and shaming who that person was, because they had amazing knowledge. And gosh, I learned so much through them. I'm so thankful to that person. So thankful. And I remember something happening to them, very severe it was quite severe what happened to them. And I remember this person saying to me, will you do some healing with me? And they said, I know you're scared of hurting, upsetting people and challenging people. This person said, I want you to challenge me. If during this healing session, something comes up that I'm not willing to look at, this person said, please tell me. And I was aware already that, yeah, there's a real egoic attachment to needing to be right. There was a safety in that I am safe. And I could feel the fear around, if anyone questions me, my safety goes. There was a lot of love there. And it was happening. And I was just saying, so what are you picking up? And I said, I'm totally getting the fear around, if I'm not right or seem to be right, I'm not safe, and I was being very loving and gentle. And there was a slight window of opportunity. I said, God, there's so much, I was really coming in, you got so much knowledge, such an amazing teacher, but this external thing that happened was so severe. It's almost like life is trying to beautifully release that for you and heal it. And there was a slight moment where I felt the ego, and then complete shutdown, and that safety came in and said, it was like, who are you to question me, and I was just like, oh, okay. I said, well, you did ask me to tell you. So I'm not saying that what I've picked up was right, but you asked me to share authentically what was coming up for me. And yeah, that ego came in, and then from what I heard, lots and lots of external situations happened where there was a lot of conflict with the outside world. Almost everybody, she was fighting all these different organizations and people and being sued, and I just, it made me sad. But then as I went deeper, it was that thing, and that's that person's beautiful journey, isn't it? And whenever I think about them, I choose to see the light, I choose to see the goodness they are, and I choose to see that little human child that had been made to feel so unsafe.
What's coming to me is like, not just, I mean, it's interesting because it's easy for us to see it on other people. Do you see what I mean? To see like, oh, wow, I was surprised with that person on stage reacting this way. And what I want to bring back is like, to all of us, when is it that I reacting this way? Do you see what I mean? Oh, it's surprising. Do you see oh, I felt this way. I felt threatened by someone questioning me. Do you see it on a topic or subject that I'm, good at, and so on? Because and again, every time we get so triggered, like the example that Amanda put it in there of someone on stage and seemingly to be just a normal thing, and then you get, fired up and so on. There is something else underneath that we get to work. And I'm saying, of course, we can see it on other people, but if we can see it on other people, it's because, again, it's just, okay, how can I bring that back to me? Where is it that I,
Where do I do that?
where do I do that? Do you see what I mean? Or how, I'm not saying that you have to always be searching for problems for yourself. And then it might be that there was a version of you or a version of us that in the past used to behave that way. And then you can identify so much like, oh, I can see so much of, myself in that. Do you see?
And I think that's what was beautiful came through, because there was real compassion. It was like, gosh, oh, the pain that was there, there was real pain that was there, and it was that fighting to survive. Like, no, I'm not safe unless I'm right. And yeah, it's that forgiveness, isn't it? It's when we can say, God, I totally forgive that person. They just got really identified with the fear. It was, and she'd shared a lot with me. I could see so much had happened in their life where I could totally see where she'd been conditioned to believe that, and it's within ourselves, isn't it? It's that thing of, and what we're saying today, it's that thing of, actually, can I forgive myself for the times maybe I've had tantrum? Because the ego lives in regret. The ego kind of wants to feel bad in a way, or feel better. It either wants to feel bad about itself, or it wants to feel superior. It's kind of the two things going on. And so it can fluctuate a little bit. It tends to be one or the other. Either to be safe and survive, I have to feel superior, or to continue as I am, I have to feel kind of bad about myself. And it will kind of fluctuate between the two. And if you felt bad about yourself, have an inferior ego, if it can find something where it suddenly feels, I'm more knowledgeable here, or I know more, it can go from inferior to, oh, I now feel superior. This feels better, and it can fluctuate a little bit. And it's that awareness of even that victim thing. Well, if I blame somebody else for how I'm feeling, well, where's my responsibility in that? What was my part in that? And it's that vulnerability in ourselves where we can say, because there's some things that are uncomfortable for us to, actually say, yeah, I was blaming that person, and gosh, can I forgive that part of me that got so lost and so hurt and so scared that, God, God must have been so scared. Maybe it's been so betrayed, all the things that we can say, but in that, God, yeah, I forgot the light that I am, the safety, the love, the divinity, the wholeness, the expensive, the unlimitedness. I got a little bit lost in this human me. And when we come here as humans, there's huge conditioning. There's a lot of fear here. There is, we can't pretend that's not happening. It is, and we get sort of lost in that a little bit, don't we? And for me, yesterday, it was a huge, I had to sort of say, God, I'm sorry. I got completely sucked into that and I forgot. Yeah, actually, part of me feels bad about that. And I didn't know that. I hadn't accessed that until yesterday. There was a part of me that felt bad and guilty that I'd forgotten that. And that was a huge release for me. And there's a teacher, Michael Madad, I want to give him acknowledgement here, because that was something, sort of listen to his stuff, and I know that's something he talked about. I remember hearing him saying, I go, yeah. But it was only yesterday that I was able to implement that knowledge. It was like, yeah, I get what you're saying. But yesterday I was able to go deeper with it and implement and embody that sort of forgiveness of myself, and me being able to say, God, yeah, I'm sorry. Not in a shaming way. It wasn't me shaming myself. God, I'm so sorry. I forgot. Oh. It was yeah, I'm sorry, actually. I'm sorry I forgot about you, God. I'm sorry I forgot. I'm sorry I forgot everything. And I'm sorry I blamed you. I'm sorry I blamed that person. And they're just beautiful beings on their own journey, remembering, aren't they? But that doesn't mean we have to make it okay. I'm not saying that, yeah, there were certain energies that I know is quite toxic, and for my higher self, it's not right to be in that energy. But that's kind of where we're able to just, for ourselves, you can say, well, I'm not going to make that person wrong, but for where I am, it's kind of not a match. So I don't need anything out of me to change. It's me following my integrity, isn't it? And you can do the odd little thing to see if you can change it, and no, that's okay. So and that's bravery and courage where that comes in, isn't it? In the trust. But yeah, I think that's what we wanted to share today, wasn't it? That God is these little parts of ourselves that feel guilty and shamed, and it takes a bit of bravery, I think. But when you know you're not doing on your own, when you hand it over to, and I do use the word divinity, I do, and if it puts people off,
Just use a different word. Do you see what I mean?
yeah, Junior's been so beautiful helping me to release that part of me. So I thank you so much. And that's why I was crying in one of our sessions, because Junior was just so beautiful in helping me release any blockages I had about that. And also, it's that part of us that I think when there's shame and guilt that we're not willing or scared to go into, and saying we're not shame or guilt, we're not. And there are things that, if I kicked a dog, I'm meant to feel bad about kicking that dog. It doesn't mean I'm a bad person or have a bad soul or I'm a shameful person, but I'm meant to feel, ooh, my soul that wasn't a match with my goodness of my soul because I hurt another. So I need to look at, what was behind me kicking that dog? What was behind me being cruel to that person? And so when we look back, it's not regret. So if you have an ego that thinks it's shameful, it will want to keep that belief going, won't it? But it's when we're able to sort of question that and say, no, yeah, I did that thing, and actually, I'm so sorry, and I forgot. And actually, what have I learned from that? God, I'd never do that again, and because I've changed, so I'm appreciative of that thing because I learned and I grew. I don't have to say, God, the pain and the trauma that I went through in that, God, that was bloody painful. But you're able to go deeper with it and see, and you come back to love, our nature's love, and we can forgive ourselves and forgive others. Like we were saying, that's spiritual ego. We get why some egos become identified with the knowledge, because if we've been made to feel so wrong and not enough, of course. I mean, I think I'll quickly share, I'm conscious of time, but I remember years ago going to these London dungeons, and they had these original torture instruments that actually being part of the. And this was a long time ago, so I was starting to become aware I could pick up on very subtle energies in bricks and buildings. I could feel residual energies, and I'd see images of battles, and I'd be like, what the hell's going on? And I remember going in this instrument, and we could hold them, and all of a sudden I was connected with the energy of the person that had been the torturer. And I was sort of shown that if that person was born now in a very loving family, they would not have become a torturer. But they showed me very quickly why that person became a torturer, because they had such abuse and neglect as a child, that when they became the torturer, they became they were the powerful one. And it's better to be the one the ego and say, well, it's better I'm the one that's had the power and dishing out the pain than the one receiving the pain. And it was almost like a part of its consciousness was so attached to that false power that it hadn't left the equipment. And by touching it, I sort of picked up on all this, why this person became an horrific abuser and loved being a torture, did stuff to people that, I mean, makes me sick to think about it. But I was shown how that innocent child, its journey from pure innocence and love to, gosh, does atrocities and loves it. And I'll never forget that. And they said, now, if they'd been born in a normal family, loving, they'd be a bank manager with 2 kids. They wouldn't dream about doing the atrocities they did in that lifetime.
I feel, yeah, no, it's a beautiful way of like we ending this episode as well for today. Like what I want to wrap up and to bring that to everyone that is watching, it's, I think the word that came up, it's like, it's okay not to be okay, and to allow, to embrace and to forgive ourselves, and to allow. I think the word that came to me as well, as someone that's gone through, yesterday and so on, it's like, it's that acceptance. Do you see? Sometimes we don't accept what is in front of us, which is like, I'm being sick, do you see? I'm purging. And it's just accepting, okay, what's the next step that I can take from here? Do you see? Do I get to go within, embrace it? Is there a lesson that I can get from here? And just that acceptance and openness, I would say, rather than just getting the mind to like, oh, why am I doing this? Why am I sick? Why I can't do this? Why, you say it's so easy for the mind to go like, why me now? Why today? Why this and that? And it's just like, okay, I'm getting it. And I know I'm gonna, with divinity, with life, or with God, the spirit, whatever you want to do, or your subconscious mind, it will come up what I get to solve from it. And I think from everything that we always talk about the alchemy chat, I think with pain, you know what I mean? I love the acronym, you know, it brings us present, it brings us to who we are, and then we have that opportunity to actually, you know, explore the new, to have new insights, to heal what gets to be healed, and so on. So it's not that we have to self-inflict pain in ourselves, but it's not about ignoring or not accepting what is in front of us in that sense as well, because there is gift in it, and there is, yeah, it's okay not to be okay, and there is a light in that not okay, let's say. Yeah.
Oh, that's it. First of the day, I love that, because it's that thing of, also, we don't want to get attached to the continuous suffering. I need suffering to align me. And it's that part of, so if I can just choose throughout the day to just, I'm in that peaceful loving space. And we're not saying that life outside is going to be perfect, because the physical world is limited, because it's physical. It is limited. Things go wrong. It is limited. It is. But when we can remember letting go of an attachment for the outside of us to be perfect, and it can't, because it's purely physical, it can't be. We can almost forgive the world and say, gosh, on a physical level, you are just physical. So, but if I can just remember to just come from that peaceful, loving space within me that is connected to the unlimited, to the divine, peaceful, loving, unifying harmony, love, our souls. And we remember that, there's a two-ply thing. The suffering, of course, wakes us up. But actually, what if I can finally get to grips with what's causing this suffering? What if I can actually go that next step of, can I let go of the suffering to realign me? What if I can just choose to live in that peaceful, loving, non-attachment way of the world? What if I can get to that place where I can let the world happen, and I can always be in a place of peace and love and true compassion and true kindness? But there's a strength and kindness to that. As I was saying, I know we need to go, but that might be the next episode, where we can be all those things, but there's a strength and a truth in that. So it doesn't mean we have to sort of say that bad thing's happening. Well, that's okay. No, there are times we have to stand up for our truth and say, no, that's not okay. For my truth, you're not making it wrong, but you're saying that doesn't align with love for me. So, okay, what's my part in that? Sometimes it's our part, and sometimes it's not. So I think a real strength and embodiment and grounding and a wholeness comes in with that. But we need suffering, but then I think for me, I think we're also coming out of this. I don't want to say, well, I need to have suffering to align me. What if I can go that next step of, what if I can choose consciously to come from that place of remembering that peaceful stillness, remembering who I am, no matter what's going outside of me. The suffering's happened enough to wake me up, even out of, I need suffering to wake me up. It's a bit of a paradigm, isn't it? We needed the suffering to wake us up. But then I think our next step is, I don't need the suffering anymore. I've suffered enough to know I can consciously now choose to live from that place that the suffering's brought me to, which is consciously being in that place of alignment and love and harmony and safety and wholeness and the preciousness that we are, and the forgiveness of when we forgot that. And we can actually say to suffering now, God, thank you so much. You've walked with me. You've actually been a sort of parent to me, really. But actually, I don't need that anymore. And yes, things will happen to bring me in. And we're not saying on that journey, we don't want to now create a world where someone's going, well, I can't show I had suffering today because I'm meant to not be using suffering anymore. Because, oh my God, no. I have not released all my conditioning yet. I'm not going to sit and try and pretend that I have. But that was what came up for me yesterday. There was a sort of place of, you quite, there's a way you get to a certain point of, you can let go of suffering now to wake you up. You can embody that, consciously choosing, and that forgiveness of myself was massive in that yesterday, and so much attachment to things were out, and so much fear really just seemed to dissolve away. And that's what we wanted to that's what you and I share, that what are we doing that is bringing those deeper truths in, and that liberation.
Awesome. So guys, for today, I would love, I mean, we spoke about quite a few things as well, and I would love to hear as well, as always, you know, if it feels good for you to share in the comments, what is it that you've taken from this today? What does suffering mean to you? Do we need, you know, suffering? Do we, or is there a perception in your mind that you need suffering or pain, or can we let go of it as well? And what, how do we interpret that if it happens again, and so on? So there's a lot of, you know, that we can take from here. And I feel the word for me, it's of course is acceptance, but also, you know, we are creators, so we can create a different way of living as well, moving forward, but not getting upset with when things don't go in the way that our mind creates that as well. So I would love to hear from you guys. What did you take from this episode as well? If it was confusing, let us know. If it was clear, let's share with us what's the clarity that came through you. If there is anything that you would like to share that happens to you as well, then maybe we can even, you know, share with others as well here in the next episodes as well that's coming up as well. If you liked this episode, remember to put that thumbs up that you liked it. If you didn't like it, just put the dislike as well, so that we go aware of what's working, what's not working for us as well, and for you guys. And if you would like this kind of chats that we're always, you know, having here, the Alchemy chat, and you want to, you know when we get the next one, so remember to subscribe and press that bell button as well. So I'll see you guys on the next episode.
Thank you so much for listening, and absolute love and light to everybody. Beautiful beings. Lots of love.
Bye bye.